This is what we're going to make today. It's a little stand that allows you to put your phone in and record yourself drawing or take a photograph of the work that you've completed in any subject. It's a really simple thing to make. It teaches us a lot about structures, A-frames. We've got cross-halving joints, triangulation, loads and loads of really cool stuff. Now, how we're going to do it is really simple. We need some scrap cardboard. It can be any cardboard. It doesn't matter how thick, how thin. You can use a cereal box or anything that you have lying around. We'll need some tape. Doesn't matter what type of tape. I've used masking tape. You can use electrical tape, sellotape, anything. A pair of scissors, pencil, a pen, and some form of ruler. For me, I used a steel rule. So get all those things before we begin. So I'm going to show you how to make the base plate of our project. Now for this project, I want to make sure that an A4 piece of paper can sit on my base. So if you look at this pizza box, the outer edge is about the right size. Now if you want to do this, you can reduce the size so that it's A5, and then you'll not need as much cardboard. But for this, I'm going to take this pizza box. Now you'll notice it's got no stains on it. It's a nice clean piece of cardboard. It's never actually had a pizza in it. And the first thing I want to do is cut the outer edge of the pizza box to give me the square or rectangle that I need. Now remember, if you're using scissors or a craft knife, please be really careful. Now it's really important that the base plate of your project does not have any bends or folds in it. It needs to be really strong, and I'm going to show you how to reinforce it now. For this next part, I have cut 4 lengths. They're all the same length and they're all the same width. This is really important. Now what we're going to do with these is we're going to put 2 that way and 2 this way. Okay? Now before we do that, we're going to add some cross-halving joints. To make my cross-halving joints, I made 2 cuts, 1, 2, and then I just twisted off the bit of cardboard. You'll notice that my cuts go more than halfway. You can do them halfway if you're super precise, but if you're a little bit lazy like I've been, you can go past the halfway mark. It doesn't really matter. And then they'll just slot together like this. Now before we do this, it's really important that we have these evenly measured out. The distance that we measure in is not really important. What is important is that they're all the same. So for this, I'm going to put my steel rule right to the edge of my cardboard. Now remember, a steel rule is a dead end rule, which means I can start from the end and at 0. If you're using a ruler, remember you've got that little gap at the start. So I'm just going to make a little mark at 40 millimeters. Again, this will be determined by the size of your piece, and you can change this at home yourself. So I'm just going to mark 40 millimeters in on all pieces of cardboard. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is just guess my halfway mark. I'm going to do that first. And what I want to make sure is that when I'm doing this part, I draw down to the same edge. So here's my halfway mark. I'm just going to draw down there, and I'm going to draw down there. Okay, so I'm left with this little dot. I'm going to do the same over here. So just left of the dot and right of the dot. I'm going to mark it out like that. And I'm going to do this for every single one of them. So again, just guessing left, guessing right, and then extending it up until you get about halfway. Guessing left, guessing right, and making sure it's about halfway. These do not have to be perfect. Up, up, halfway, up, up, halfway. Now that one's a bit wide, so I'm just going to reduce it. Now I'm going to cut these out. So as before, I said I'm going to cut inside my line, cut once, cut twice. Let's fold this up, and then we'll just twist and tear it off. And we're going to do this for every single one of these. So cut up, and I'm cutting inside my lines, cut up, fold, and twist.
Cut up, cut up. Now if you cut slightly past, doesn't matter because it'll be hidden. So we're going to break that one off. Cut, cut, and then fold and twist.
Okay, so now we're at the assembly stage. Now what I'm going to try and do is one side's clear and one side's got some printing on it. I'm going to try and make sure that my clear side is always to the outside, just to try and make it look a bit prettier. So my pattern's going to the inside and my white side is going in the opposite direction. Okay, slot that in. And that's the basic structure that we'll stick our base onto. But before I stick my base on there, I'm going to take one bit of tape and I'm just going to tape my corners like that. So put it flat on here and tape it up. Try and make sure that these are all at 90 degrees when you're putting on the final bits of tape. It will just help strengthen it a little. Okay, so I'm going to tape up all my joints and that will add just a little bit of strength. So you can see now that one does not move as freely as the others do, and we'll want to get these nice and fixed before we continue. Now you can see that's added some strength to our shape. So the next thing I've done is cut a square, and then I want to cut it into 2 triangles. With a bit of tape, I'm going to tape these onto the project. So first of all, I'm going to tape it on like so, and then one on top, and then I'll do the same for the other sides. So tape at the bottom, and then tape at the top. Just tuck in anything that's overhanging, and tape at the top. Now what a triangle does is it really strengthens up the corner. So you can see that corner isn't moving anywhere, the others are moving. So that triangulation just helps strengthen the whole frame. Triangulation is a really, really important part of structures. Now that structure is nice and strong. Okay, we could triangulate from here to here and here to here to further strengthen the structure, but for the purpose of this, it's perfect. Now, my base goes on top. How do I secure my base to my top? It's really, really simple. We'll flip it over, and what we're going to do is make sure that all our ends line up. You can see our structure is just a little bit squint. We can just push it to the side and straighten it up. And because I removed a bit of material there now, some parts might be a little bit out of line, but we can cut those off after. So just like before, I'm going to tape. I'm going to tape from the inside so that it's mostly hidden. Okay, now as I said, I cut a little bit off, so what I'm going to do is just make sure everything lines up and cut that nice and straight. Okay, so that one needs cut as well. I'm just going to cut off these corners. So that's our nice and stable base now. I'm very, very pleased with that. And just to make sure I can fit my book on it, and this is going to work perfect. For this next part, we're going to need some paper. It doesn't matter what type of paper you have, if it's plain paper, coloured paper, or lined paper. First thing I'm going to do is get a bit of tape and put it along one edge. So I've just stuck it on one edge and turned it over so that it's adhesive side up. Now that I've got it adhesive side up, I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to start rolling my bit of paper around my pen. So just as tight as you can. The tighter it is, the better outcome your strut will be. And now just roll it up. Try and keep it as straight as possible. And then as I roll over the tape, it sticks it for me, okay? And I can just take my scissors and cut off the excess tape. Okay, just like that. If my pen doesn't come out, I'll just get another pencil or pen and do my best to push it out. Okay, so I'm just going to make lots of these now. I'm going to make the side supports now. So it just is this V. How we do it's really simple. We take 4 of our tubes. Now if we're really lucky for this, we will find that some of our tubes kind of fit inside each other. So I can see that one's a bit skinnier in the top. So I'm just going to twist it inside that tube, leave it down, and I'll do the same for this one, twist it inside that tube. Now they're about the same length even though they've been put inside each other. Next step is just to put on a little bit of tape to strengthen our join. So I'm just doing this lengthways. Now I'm trying to keep my tape as flat as possible in this because I don't really want lumps and bumps all over my frame. So nice and flat, and just rub it around and then turn it around the back. Another bit of tape, nice and flat, and then just smooth it around. Okay. Right, that's not going to be very strong as it is. So once I've got this evened out, I'm just gonna take my masking tape again for using sellotape, perfect. And I'm just gonna wrap it around as so. Hopefully you can see my technique, holding the tape slightly at an angle, and it just wraps around lovely and gives a nice clean join. Do the same for this one. Okay, so we've got 2 struts now. The next bit is to create the V shape. Now the distance in between isn't really important. If you just relax your hand and put it down flat, that's the kind of distance I went for. So there's no exact maths here, just about a hand width apart. Lay it out like that, and then what I would like you to do is just press down on the top bit. So when they're about the correct distance apart, just flatten out the top. Then we'll grab a bit of tape. And put the bit of tape over there so that it holds it this time, making sure they're about the right width apart. And then I'm just going to try and squeeze the tape down and get them together. Okay. So now, there we are, about the right distance apart. Put that one on top. There's a slight difference, but you'll see there's enough play in it that it doesn't actually matter that they're slightly different. So now I've got my 2 struts. I'm just going to leave it like that for now. Now these struts are going to attach onto the side of our box. So it's going to go through there and through there. Now you'll see there's a lot of flexibility in this. We're going to work at strengthening this through triangulation once again. But before we do that, I want to just get them in place. So how we're going to do that is really simple. You want a pen, nice and pointy. Now again, there's a danger here, you could poke yourself. So you have to be really sensible and really careful when you do this. I'm going to flip it upside down, bring in my steel rule again, or a ruler. You could even use your finger if you wanted. So just a finger width away from the edge, I'm doing a little dot. I'm going to do that on both sides. So make sure you do it on opposite sides, okay? So you don't want to do it here and here, you go opposite. Turn it right around, finger width away, push down, finger width away, push down. Now this is where you have to be really careful, or you might want to get an adult to help. How I do this is I get my tape, put it underneath. I want to line my dot up with almost the edge of the tape. Now I'm spinning my pen and I'm pushing down, spinning down at the same time, and I've just broken through ever so slightly. Leave it like that for now. Do all 4 of them, pushing down, twisting. Just going to swap out my pen now for a different pen. Now I've gone for a fatter pen this time. This pen is about as fat or as wide as the struts. So I'm going to lift it up, push my pen through, and twisting, pushing, and push down. Other side, push down. Again, fingers are well out of the way. I'm not going to poke my finger or do anything silly. So now I've got 4 bigger holes. I'm going to test this, see can I get it in. Okay. Now remember, these are quite weak in the way that they are, so just push gentle. If you feel that the end's crumbling like that, you're going to have to make the hole wider. So just get your pen, put it back in, and then make wider circles like that. And this is just going to be a test, stop, test all the time. Now, what I want to do is make sure that these are pushed in and they're even. So I don't want this to be slanted, I want to try and keep it straight. So the distance down on each of these should be even. Right, so I've got my 2 side struts in place. You'll see that I've got this little bit of tape sticking up here. I'm just going to push that in and I'm going to tidy up my struts. So any tape that looks a little bit messy, I'm just going to tape over it and try and get a smooth finish to it, okay? Our next step is to take one of the little rolled pieces from earlier and cut it in half. These are 210 millimeters long. You can work out what half of 210 millimeters is. Now that we've got these, we have marked 32 centimeters up the strut. Okay, so I've done my first mark at 300 and then added on 20 mil. Now, just by using my eye, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to try and make this centered on this to make an A shape. That's our A frame. So now I've got these little rests. I've got 3 more of my tubes. Going to stick that through the middle there. Okay. Just get it through both sides. And then I'll tape that in place. So let's do one side at a time. Just tape this down. Okay. Over to this side. Put it through our A-frame and tape it down. Now I need to add in my other 2 pieces. So I'm going to put them either side of my A-frame and then I'll tape both of them down at the same time. Just going to squeeze that, and I'll tape them down at the same time. Okay, so that's 1 down and that is 2 down. Again, this is just roughly taped and we'll fix it at the end. Okay, layer over and smooth it out after. Perfect. Now, we can see that this isn't very straight, so I'm just going to try and use my hands to guide it into place. So now we've got this structure, okay? And what we can do at this stage is take the phone and we'll be able to balance it on top of there. Now if I get a bit of paper, put it in, there we have it. We can take a video of our work, or what we can do is take a photograph of our work. For the next part of this build, we've got 2 options. Option 1, if you can find a cardboard box but still got some of its sides intact and it's very rigid, I would go with that. So what I'm going to do is put my phone inside my box and then mark out a frame around my phone that's about 10 mil bigger. So hopefully you can see the size that I'm talking about. And then what I'm going to do is mark it up the side, mark it up that side, and I'm going to add a 10 mil border, or maybe more than that actually, say a 20 mil border around the sides. Again, keep a tidy workstation, so I'm just going to get rid of this, put it in the bin straight away. Now, I've got my little phone cradle. You can see after cutting this, it's fallen apart on me. So just going to grab some tape. Okay, so I've got my phone cradle and I'm going to guess where the camera is. So it just covers that small section. I'm going to cut that out now. Okay, now before I put this in place, I'm just going to hold it like that and make sure my camera is free. Now this space at the side is not necessary, but it means if you get a new phone it will still work. This cradle is going to go on there next. Just provides that extra support. If you don't have a piece that's got its edges intact, what you can do is just get a flat piece of cardboard, and then the first thing I'm going to do is just fold the top up. Okay? And then I'm going to fold along the side. Now that's a bit more difficult because of the way the cardboard is constructed. So I'm just folding the side. I'm going to cut a square out of the corner, and then that means we can now tape the corner together. Okay. Fold our corner up and run our tape along. Okay, so that gives us our sides to hold the phone, and then I just, as before, mark my phone out, leaving a border along the edge, cut it out, and there we have it, another phone cradle that you can add on to your project. I'm going to do an actual test now, so I'm going to bring my project up, put my camera on, and just make sure that we can see your page. Okay, if this would work for me. There we go, and now I'm going to roughly position this to try and get it right. So that's not bad, but I think what you'll notice from the video is my camera's going on a slant. So I've just cut a little bit of cardboard and I'm going to put it underneath. Now that bit of cardboard should hopefully level off my camera, and that looks just right. If you've got a spirit level app on your phone, please use that to try and get it perfect. Now I'm happy with that, so I need to tape my bit of cardboard in place first. Final test, make sure my camera's in place, make sure it works in both photo mode and in video mode, and that's me finished. It's a really good job. We'll all be able to record ourselves sketching now.